Hey folks, welcome back to the Break Key. Thanks for joining me today as we go ahead and take our relaxation by doing something, well, that's kind of fun and could be kind of stressful, depending upon the way you look at it. So this time around, we're going to be making a cable that will hopefully work for a little thing called Drivewire. And I believe that Drivewire is specifically for the TRS-80 Color Computer, and that I know that it works through the TRS-80 Color Computer's bitbanger port and then goes into a RS-232 port on a PC where a server is run. Well, guess what? Modern PCs don't have RS-232 ports anymore, so we have to get something that'll translate a USB to RS-232. Not that terribly difficult to do. Everything here looks like it should be just as simple as maybe soldering a few things together and getting something loaded into the Coco to go ahead and boot it. I don't know. We'll find out when we get there. But at any rate, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the break key. So just ignore whatever's being said by me over here in the corner, because there's going to be no lip sync, because I made another mistake. I went and forgot to turn on the microphone for this entire thing, and I'll mention that towards the end. So you're listening to voice over me right now. At any rate, one of the fun things that I found was that you can still get 4-conductor, 4-pin DIN cables, male to male. There it is, right there, male to male, and you can get those on Amazon. And as a demonstration, you look at the back of the machine, you've got your 6-pin for your joysticks, you got 2 of those, you got your cassette port, which is 5, and you got your serial port, which is the 4-pin right there. Oops, nope, wait, oh, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. That's voice over me making a mistake. Yes, I am watching this as I am, talking about it. So the next thing that we're going to need in order to make this work, aside from the 4-conductor cable with the 4-pin DIN connector, is going to be a USB to serial converter. And these come very conveniently already put together and basically ready to just go ahead and slip some DuPont wires over, or solder up however you want to do it. In this case, the one that I've got has RS-232 and RS-483. Both available not simultaneously, but according to some switch settings. So it's a bit more than I actually need, but it does give me a USB to RS-232. Here we have a little bit of a close-up view. And we can see we've got the 232 transmit and receive along with the ground. I don't know what the A and B pins do. The R1 looks like it's marked RTS. And on the opposite side, that's where the 483 is going to be. Transmit, receive, 3.3 volts, plus 5 volts, that kind of thing. That's also where the switches are. So I got this on Amazon. Just a real easy, Geek Story CP2102, whatever the heck Geek Story is. It comes with some DuPont cables that I'm not going to use. However, the ones that are in there the ones that are shown are not the colors that I got. I like the prettier colors, and they gave me prettier colors. They gave me green and purple and white. I'm still not going to use them for this purpose, obviously, but there they are. The user manual for this is pretty sparse. It gives you basically just as much information as you need in order to be able to actually make use of the thing. And USB to serial port. Of course, it's all in Chinese, so it's going to be difficult to understand what's going on. Suffice to say that it took me a bit to understand what that right there was actually saying. I knew I needed RS-232, and I didn't quite understand what it was saying about the switches or whatnot. So what it was actually telling me was the position of the 2-position switch in the first 2, and then the other switch, the black top switch, was either RS-232 TTL or RS-483. So having sussed that out from there, it looks like the only switch that I need to change is the one marked number 1, and I need to turn that on because the other one, they're both off to start with, and the bottom and the other switch is already set to RS-232 TTL. And the next part obviously is figuring out where this thing lives. So the first thing that I wound up doing was trying to find it in dmessage, and there it is. It tells me that it's TTY USB 0. So just go ahead and take a listing of that and see if it exists. I mean, it's supposed to exist. It should be a no-brainer on that one. It does exist. And the next step is going to see whether or not Screen will connect to it. And the nice thing about being in a Linux environment is that using Screen, you can connect to pretty much any serial terminal. And there we go, that works. I've used Screen to routinely connect to the REPL on my Raspberry Pi Picos running MicroPython. Okay, so the next step is going to be building the Drivewire cable itself. And in order to do that correctly, I need to know what wires go to what pins and come from what pins. Now, conveniently, this shows the back end of the port, so I can say that that's the solder side of the plug, where pins 1, 2, 3, and 4 are, and I can see that I've got pin 1, 2, 3, and 4 going to the certain locations on the DB9. I don't have a DB9. I have this thing, and this thing has the TX pin and the RX pin, which are really the only two pins that I need to worry about other than ground. So I've got 3 pins that I'm going to be using on that. I've got the 4 pins that I'm going to be using on the DIN connector and the DIN cable as shown there. So now it's time to break out the DuPont connectors. And I had a big old package of these things. It's like, you can't just get one of them. You have to get like 100 of each size or something like that. It's a little bit ridiculous. But then I try to do all the shopping that I can through Amazon rather than doing my shopping through like DigiKey and whatnot. Anything that I can get like next day, because guess what? I'm into instant gratification, and I like to get these things done. I like to think that I'm going to get them done tomorrow, even though it might take me a couple of weeks to get to a project. One would think that I would learn. But no, as also evidenced by the lack of original sound and the needed voiceover. So yeah, we're going to be using some heat shrink cable to go ahead to pull things together and make sure that it's not going to break itself, this is actually going to be my first time ever using heat shrink cable on one of my own projects. I remember using heat shrink cable as a child, but I was very closely supervised by my dad in doing so. So the next thing I'm going to need to do is figure out what the cable on the inside of this thing looks like. And I'm hoping that it's something more substantial than the other one was, the cassette cable was. And it turns out that it is. I was surprised when I opened this up, and I found 5 insulated conductors in there and 1 bare conductor. The bare conductor I was expecting because ground connection. I was not expecting to see a 5+1 conductor cable. The other thing that I'm kind of wondering about is, does there exist a tool that will help me remove the outer sheathing without much muss or fuss? It's just exceptionally irritating to have to deal with trying to do this with these side cutters or some other type of pliers that aren't necessarily designed for it, especially when maybe what's just inside is a necessary piece of shielding. But, if anybody happens to know a good tool for removing the outer jacketing of a multi-conductor cable, that would be very, very appreciative. Very much appreciated if you'd let me know where to find one, what it is, and what your experience with it has been. Thank you! right, so everything is now soldered together. We've got the connectors on the wires, and now it's just time to put the connectors onto the adapter. That is something that I do, just absolutely checking, double checking, triple checking to make sure that I'm putting the correct wire onto the correct pin. Because as I've said before, I can make some really, really, really stupid mistakes. Now, ostensibly this should be one of the easier bits of it, but, you know, for me, I'd rather check and double check than wind up with issues coming up later. Magic smoke is expensive, you know? Very expensive. I don't want it coming out of either machine that I'm plugging this into. All right, so we're good with that. All right, now that's on. What I need to do here for pi wire, I'm going to go ahead and try let's see, and port USB 0. Okay, so there's that. And if I go over to nice. Okay. And I know the cocoa's on. So let me get that out of the way and grab let me find a disk file here. Okay, so I've got cashman.dsk. Now, that's got that going on. Beautiful. So the next thing that I think I need to do is download the HTTP DOS or something? Is that what I need to do? Okay, and yeah, HTTP DOS. Once you download the Drivewire software, connect the Cocoa to PC with you. Boot the Cocoa with an HTTP DOS ROM image. This can be done with ROM pack. I have turned cloud, not someone else. Loading the cassette port. Running problem places. Okay. Okay, so Drivewire. Let's see. And let's go ahead and move that out of the way for the time being. If you don't have extended basic. All right. Cassette files and track files. I'm going to put that in Cocoa stuff. Alrighty. And so now There we go. So this is from HB-DOS, Extended Basic. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're gonna do this. Say play wave, and then I'm gonna go over to the Coco and oops. Okay, great. Go back over here. Play that. Let's see what the Coco's doing. It seems happy. All right. And use the correct keyboard, Henry. Okay, so I've got Deck B. It boots into Deck B with HDB-DOS. Okay, all right, cool. So that I've got that. Now, next question. Is this really this plug and play? It's giving me an IO error. All right, so let's see what we got going on. CMD equals C8 command error. Okay, so I'm going to CMD equals C8 command error. I remember seeing this somewhere that there's something about that. So it's receiving something. Okay. Just to see, let's see. IO error. CMD equal E8 command error. All right, so it's receiving commands. Okay, it's receiving what it. Yeah. I don't know what's wrong. So what I'll do is I'll exit. Let's see. I can't remember what the baud rate's supposed to be. Drivewire primarily works with the bitbanger around the back of the Coco. Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do then is change that over to 57600. And that's running. Let's hit the... I'm going to move this off to the other side. And let's hit the Coco and see what the Coco has to say. Oh, I forgot. I've got to load in the... Okay, that opened. Ha ha! Yes! Yes! Oh, that makes me happy. Okay, now I don't think Cashman works with the without a joystick. Let's. You're loading and you're loading and you're loading. I'm not getting any error messages on the server front. It ran. Okay, it did it. It did it. Let's say, will it exec? Until bar is blue. I remember as a kid, I would get so frustrated by this. Okay, there we go. And there it is. Oh my goodness. It is beauty in a peach. Will you work? Ah! Evil! That was bad. Spar new constant plus new mystery. Hit enter to get on with the game. Okay, so I can only use a joystick. That kind of sucks, but hey, that's okay. I'm fine with that because we're going to fix that problem later. I think very, very soon. If not the next little project for this, if it's not the next little project for this, very, very soon the project is going to be doing something vaguely resembling a D-pad or a joypad or something like that. I'm not going to do analog, although... Wrong button. I do have these bad boys right here, and those are approximately 10 kilo ohm potentiometers on the X and Y axes, so they should work fine to adapt into something vaguely resembling an analog joypad. But other than that, I'm thinking just go ahead and use some buttons that I've got lying around. I have some arcade buttons. I have some touch type buttons. I have like keyboard key switches. I don't know. What do you think? What should I use? I'm thinking the tappity like fire button type things would be fun, but I've also got those 12 millimeter clickies. I don't know what would work well for a D-pad. Yeah, you tell me. If I don't hear much of anything, I'm just gonna go ahead and pick it myself. But hey, there it is. All right. Cool. I'm happy. It works. It works. It's working. Well, I'd call that a rousing success. That's like, oh, that makes me happy. I've got things that work. So it's still, I think it's kind of nifty that I'm actually booting off the cassette port and then using a disc-ish type of thing. It's pretty darn nifty. And like I was saying, like I can't really play much in the way of games because not much in the way of games has keyboard controls. So one of the next projects is going to be doing the joypad. Yeah, and that's, you know, that's about it for this time. Things worked out well. I'm really, really happy with it, despite the fact that I realized most of the way through that I'd forgotten to turn on my microphone. Ah, voiceovers. Anyway, thanks for joining me at the break key today, folks. See you all next time. Oh, I don't have that booted up yet, do I? Well, that's got to be changed. I'll let the frustration go here in a little bit. But the machine's working.